So without further ado, I want to present Tait Fletcher.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks. Appreciate that. All right. Oh, I got a mic. I don't need a mic. I'm assuming everybody can hear me. My name's Tait Fletcher, and it's a mystery to me why I'm here. I'm real honored to be here, though, and I hope I can bring some value. Boy, oh boy, what an intro. I always laugh at, I'm not a fan of me. It's really awkward to be here in this regard, and I'd rather be doing stuff than talking about it. However, hi. This is a great, does anybody else want to move here? Everybody from here or no? I mean, this is, thank you guys so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you. I've been brought to tears like 3 times today. Just the kind of magic that's in here is, it's something special to be around potent human beings. And thank you guys for sharing your energy and yourselves. I got here through a series of bad decisions, I guess. And me running my own life is kind of, it took me to a certain position where I wasn't employable. I wasn't a very good friend, and I was expelled from my family, and that, you know, I'd been in, I'd had a lot of colorful experiences, and part of what I want to talk about tonight is ownership, is accountability, because I figured always since I was a little kid, all I needed was a good scapegoat, and I'd be okay. Like if there's somebody else that's gonna take the heat for something, that's great, you know. And it turned out that I just became the scapegoat for everybody. Everybody's like, I don't swear unless I'm around you, Tait. So it didn't really work in my favor in the long run. But the other thing that I found is that I couldn't acquire any skills. You know, like as long as I'm blaming, as long as I'm pointing the finger, I stay empty. And it may feel, it's like a hollow victory, right? It may feel like I've sidestepped some trouble, and I just walked into a future of chaos for myself, is what I found. And I was fortunate enough in my early 20s to meet some fellas that cared about my life more than they cared about my feelings. And they told me things real straightforward. And they said, we don't really care how you feel about it. You don't know how to move your feet, man. And so here's how you're going to start walking. And they really put me on a different path than I thought was prescribed by fate for my life. I thought my life was dictated by something else. And I thought what a pussy way that is to look at life, too, because it really puts the responsibility on almost anybody else, even invisible people, for my life, right? Not a very empowered outlook. And I thought I was a really tough guy also. Man. It took me a long time. So the crux of my problem, I like to drink to the point where nobody else likes it when I drink, and so that was a tremendous amount of my problem, but it wasn't all my problem. That was maybe an indicator of a deeper problem, and a lot of my problem was a outrageous ego, I think, that I just didn't know how to suppress, and it came out leaky everywhere. And when it comes out leaky, man, it hurts people, and you piss people off, and you step on toes you don't mean to. And so I found myself in a whole bunch of wrecks. But I never understood cause and effect, really. I never understood that I did this, and then they felt sore, and then this, you know. I always felt like I was a victim. So one of these people that really took me under their wing said, you know, she's a little old lady. She's like 70 years old, and she says, hey, pussycat, no victims can ever get recovery. You're never going to feel well if you're pointing the finger at people. And it really made me look at myself in a different way. I never really was accountable like that, because I figured, you know, if I'm in a class and the teacher doesn't give me the information very well, or they skip out or whatever, that's on them. And she's like, no, that's on you. You're here. Get what you came for, Tait. This is your life. No dress rehearsal. This is your life. So get what you came for. What are you looking for? You want them to give it to you? It's not going to happen. Life is a war. You're probably going to have to take it and wrest it from somebody else. That's probably the way this is going to work out. And what I found was that wasn't necessarily true, that it is a war, but it's a war on the inside. It's against my own self. It's a war on getting me out of the way so I can, for lack of a better word, let God come through and kind of guide my actions more. And what I found is when I got into a life of service, not to make this sound too preachy, but that's where I got a real salvation. Like I found out that I could be useful, I could be helpful. And when I was looking to be helpful and useful, I wasn't thinking about myself. And I'd been, I'd had, I don't know, since I was 9 years old, I really felt like this is not for me, you guys. I want to get out of here. And to the point where, I saw a state psychologist by the time I was 9, and then 13 again, and all kinds of trouble with the law and all that up to that time. And when I really started to slow my life down, because I thought I had to get somewhere fast. I thought I was on the way somewhere. I thought, like, man, time's running out, and other people are running faster, and I didn't understand anything how it worked. And this guy sent me to cleaning my life up, and he says, hey, man, you don't have any good ideas about running your life at all. It's clear, right? A monkey could do better. And I had to agree with him. I had just come out of 5-point restraints. I was in a lockup on a bank robbery, and I didn't have any more answers left on my life. And I was looking at 25 years, and I'm in a jumpsuit, and there's my mom on the other side of the glass. And I'm going, here's your life. Here's what all your good decisions have made you. And so outside of that, I didn't rob that bank. And I really didn't. But it was my gun and it was my car, and it all came back on me, And the dude that hit it, he ended up doing 9 years, and I ended up getting out after he was sentenced. And he took the weight on that, which was the right thing, but it's, dicey. It's the federal fucking government. And it just dawns on me there's a lot of the federal government here. They say something about you ought to know your audience, right? So anyway, that was where it took me. And then shortly after that, I found, jiu-jitsu came in my life. And it started showing me process in a different way. I'd done a lot of book work with these other people, and I'd kind of taken stock of my life, and I'd seen what was valuable and what, through no fault of my own, I had a lot of defects, right? But all those were assets at one point. Lying to me, that was an asset. That was a lifestyle, that was a trait I needed. Stealing from people, everybody I know does that. So it was just kind of turning my whole shit around, and it took a long time. I wanted to kill myself for probably 2-3 years after that. And I didn't know how to live at all. I thought, the only thing I know how to do is go back to jail, And this guy says, well, you're willing to cash your own check, man. You're free. You can try anything. And ever since then, I kind of thought, fuck it, so what? Maybe you die. Good luck, And I would beg for it. And I would just dive into things like that. And I would be like, dive into this and let it kill you. Let's see what happens. Let's dig in deep. Do you feel like it hurts? Let's see if you can dig in a little deeper. And I really found a lot of value, maybe not the right way, but by digging into pain and by living in discomfort. And then I had a coach, an MMA coach, a great man named Greg Jackson, and he would always talk about breaking points. He says, we always want to take the other man to his breaking point, but you want yours to be unreachable. And so we would train hard, and we would train in the mountains at altitude, and it was all kinds of lovely and fun, and I love to pressure myself like that. I love to push like that. And he says, I need you to become comfortable where other men are uncomfortable. Where it's horrible to live, where your sofa's on fire, I want you to take a nap. I need you to be comfortable where other people, because most people will quit. And that's all I found out about me. I knew I was a loser. I knew I'm not going to make it much, right? But I found out I was tough. I found out I would finish, right? You're going to have to beat me to death. And inside of that, I found I could get some victories. It's not the best way, but crudely, I found my way along a little bit. And then I ended up getting my second job that was a legit job. I was serving coffee at first, and then I went in to the bar business, and I started working security for obvious reasons. Inside of that, I learned a whole bunch about process. Like, I already had this process kind of overlay over my life. Look at who I truly was, not who I thought I was, right? I remember seeing a movie one time, and I thought, man, all these people in this movie, they all think they're good people. There's not one dude in this movie that thinks, man, I'm the bad guy, right? My mom says, you always play the bad guy, Tait. And I'm like, it's just perspective, They're coloring me in a bad light. But that was really, like, I look at that and I think, fuck, are you a good guy? Like, I got to question myself. Like, if we're so delusional, I don't even know. And so, somebody offered, they said, maybe in the question is the answer, keep searching. And that was kind of the thing. I just came on a quest for truth, kind of. I didn't have any idea about strength, tenacity, stick-to-itiveness, or none of that. And then I kind of got that later on. I didn't really step into that really until my 20s. Anybody that tried to put that on me, I felt like you were putting handcuffs on me. I pushed it away. Responsibility, no thanks. Have fun, nerd. You want discipline? No, enjoy that, tough guy. I didn't want any of that. And I had no idea that there was such a relaxed state that you could find when you dug into those things, And I really found that to be where my freedom is. Outside of that, I don't know, we got an hour, and I think that I don't have anything to say at all, and I will talk for 3 hours probably. But maybe to myself. So I start digging into jiu-jitsu, and that was, God damn, it's a big life. I started doing stick fights. I found this guy, Arlen Sanford. He was part of a group called the Dog Brothers. And these guys, they were stick fighters, like 32-inch rattan sticks, and you're swinging them at each other. We're looking for hands first, because that's the first part that I can touch on you. And of course, I'm looking for a headshot to kill. And if I can hit you across the thigh, maybe that swelling starts so fast that it separates your skin, right? These guys started this to find out those things. They first were stick fighters with armor. And then they go, two of them that won first and second, they go, hey, let's find out what the efficacy of this is without any armor. And so they went with fencing masks and batting gloves, which is not a lot of armor if you've been hit with a stick. And but you find out truth. You can get deep into truth. And I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to hit you with a stick, Arlen. And he just giggled. He's this old dude. He's got, he looks like he pushes horses around. He's a carpenter for a long time. And he just chuckled. And he goes, I'll take care of that for you, right? You're going to feel no problem at all after I hit you with a stick hitting me back. And that was accurate. But he also said, we'd talk about a lot of things after that. And he was a really well-read dude, and he taught me a lot. And we talked a lot about pain and about what you got to do with pain, right? And that kind of pain, you got to put away. And you got to go, we're going to deal with that later, because we have consequences that are pretty high, and we have to move forward, right? So I cannot be distracted. And I feel like the same thing in my life right now is true, right? There's all these distractions that are flying around because I have this, I left, that's how mature I am. My phone's in my bag, you guys. I don't even have it on my body. But that motherfucker is distracting, right? It pulls me out of my life. It pulls me off my square. It pulls me out of my humanity a little bit. And so I got to be really careful because I'm susceptible to those kinds of things. And Arlen started talking about that, and he started talking about contrary action. He started talking about pushing off satisfaction and all that kind of thing. And that stuff really helped me a ton. And it made me more aware of time. Then I started jiu-jitsu shortly after I started stick fighting. I don't know, I probably had like 300 or 400 stick fights, like a lot of stick. We fought a lot, and I mean, because practice is you're in a fight. It's all a fight unless you're working a bag, and we would do that in a little group. I don't know. It's not like you're in a park. It's pretty loose. There's people in the neighborhood that come around and get their chairs and watch you guys fight like savages, like what's wrong with you, right? We fought across this park from the projects in Santa Fe one time. And all the gangbangers, all the West Side Lopes came out, and they're walking along, they're drinking and whatever, and they see us in the park, and I'm dying. I'm like, let's fight. Jump in, man. And they're seeing these smiles mixed with this brutality, and they just didn't understand. They just keep walking, But putting myself in that kind of condition, it made me really appreciate the moments, right? And in that competition, because if this would have happened and not that. Fuck, if you'd had more presence of mind and got pulled off your square, where would you be? And that was a huge component of being able to focus my mind, this wild mind that was just off everywhere. I couldn't think one thought from beginning to end, and I could start to focus it. And I could start to do things with the emotions I was getting instead of just acting out. And I learned how to pause. Instead of having a feeling and reacting, I could sit back and go, okay, let's see where that goes. And is it important that we react to it right now? Outside of that, I started working in a nightclub right away, and I started running the security group, and then I started training those guys. And a lot of those guys are not very well trained. You guys might not know, but they're not all professionals. But it was a dope thing. And my boss was this older lesbian lady who was really, really tough. And I would always tell her stories. She's like, well, what happened at the door today or whatever? Somebody came up, you kicked out so-and-so, and I'd be like, yeah, this guy, man, and the way he was last, and she goes, Just the specifics, please. Just the facts, right? And I started looking at the way I used language really muddy. And I would muddy up language like crazy. And then who's to understand what I'm saying? And I want it that way because I don't want to take responsibility. But then I'm like, that's the old me. I got to get specific, man. If I don't have specificity, I don't have any answer for my life, because that muddiness can work on any problem just as well, which is not very much. And so I learned to be really articulate and specific in exchange of information, especially when it mattered. Because anything else would have been unkind. Anything else would have maybe directed somebody in the wrong way if I wasn't clear, right? And so there are these different things that were coming on my head and layering on me and that I was wearing, and then I'm responsible for scheduling, I'm responsible for this and that. And life got really great for me for a while. I was an undefeated fighter. I was working at the nicest nightclub in town, and everything was great, and I thought, this is not enough. I feel like I'm at a ceiling here, and I can only go so far. And so I moved to California. I was working as an extra on this film, and they gave me a job out there, and then I started doing bodyguard work out there for a couple of the actors that were in there, and kind of gave me my legs a little bit, and then I really continued into bodyguard work, which I did for another 4 or 5 years, probably congruent with a fight career, because there wasn't Conor McGregor then, and the fighting career when I began, it was, I think the first fight I was on a card with Keith Jardine and myself and Diego Sanchez, and all of us all told, I think, made $1,000, right? So that was like, it was a real love of the sport. It was a love of the game kind of thing that all the guys back then were in it. And the guys that really blew my mind were guys that were like the 125ers. Like there was no way you were going to fight ever. There was no weight class. If you're a woman, it's not happening. And then I would see these girls. I would see Michelle Waterson and Holly Holm, and these girls, they'd show up every day diligently. Like, isn't that interesting, man? I didn't even ask why. I knew why. But isn't that interesting, man, that you can stick to it? Everybody in your life is telling you it doesn't matter, it's not going to go anywhere, and they're all right. Everybody's right. It's not about that. But there's some higher calling that was there for these people, and there's a juice in there that I can't explain, man. And so I knew what they were chasing, and I just really admired it. So I got to be in a profession of people that I just really admired and I looked up to, and I could learn more process. Here's another process. Here's what this human body can do in these things to this human body or whatever, right? We have processes now for this. And all of that stuff for me, I keep talking about process because I'm not very smart. I need a good process, and it makes me look great if I follow it, right? But I got to avail myself to the process. I got to throw myself in it. So whenever I go in somewhere, I try to be all in, man. I try to get wet all the way up to my head, right? I don't want to dip my toe in much. If I'm interested, I want to know all about that. I want to let it absorb me. That fight career is tricky. It's kind of like a drinking career in as much as it's way prettier if you decide to stop drinking before the booze does. And it's way nicer if you decide to stop fighting before you're not viable anymore, right? And I knew that decision was coming, and it's a hard thing. I'm a junkie, and I come up out of Michigan, and I was living in New Mexico at that time, and when I was working in the bar, and I was fighting, and then, looking at my life through that lens, I was just like, I just didn't have any belief. I didn't have any hope. There's nothing to suggest that I was going to transcend anything, And I just kept staying in the line. I just kept going to jiu-jitsu every day. I just kept going to class every day. I just kept going to work every day. I would just honor my boss. I would look to her. I remember one time I was like, I just need more money. I got to get more money. I'm thinking, man, I'm going to go against these new values pretty soon here, and I'm going to get some money. And then I heard my boss talking about how she was hoping she could make rent next month. And I thought, I'm not going to have a job here next month if my boss doesn't make some. And I really took it upon myself to go, man, I got to help her get money. That's my job here. My job isn't really to get money. My job's to be helpful. And it was the first time I started overlaying these spiritual teachings that these guys gave me with where my fucking feet were. It was like, no, man, you need to make it your whole business, Tait, to get this lady right. And that's your job. Your job is to take care of this business. And that's when I really started seeing the benefit of setting out and being helpful and useful. And since then, I really got into all I was interested in was personal development. What I'm running from is suicide. right? What I'm running from is, you know, God bless Doris Day. Not every day is a Doris Day, right? Is what this old dude used to tell me all the time. I'm working with this young guy. He has no idea who Doris Day is, which is probably most of you guys too. But this old dude told me that one time, and I thought, because there's a dude I knew that killed himself. He'd been right there carrying the weight for 16 years. Everything was great, and he eats a pistol one day. And I go, man, I feel like that today. Why wait 16 years? You know, I'm good. We can get this done. And he said he had 16 good years and a couple bad days, Tate. And that's my experience too. It's just like that. Sometimes darkness comes on, and you got to just chew through it, man. And I don't share a lot about it, but I have a small group, like on my picket fence, are some G's, man, and they tell me the truth, and they're not afraid to tell me the truth, and I can tell them the truth, and I can know that they're going to hold that to them, and they're not going to spread that, and in those ways I can get healing in just the stories and in that sometimes, and I found that early on too, is the more that I start sharing myself and I start sharing these things, man, there's a whole room full of people with solutions to my problem. I'm the only one that don't have answers to my problem. Anybody else in here got any problems, man? I can get busy. I'm a busybody. I can fix those problems. But I have distance, right? And when I'm immersed in my own, I don't see any ways out, you know, and I need help. And so that's a really useful thing that it taught. Again, too, man, goddamn, this Cal Dietz, did you see him earlier? So this guy, right, how am I supposed, like, what am I supposed, I don't know anything. And he's a scientist. And then I don't even know how to squat anymore is what I thought I knew that yesterday. Yesterday I knew some stuff. Now I don't know, you know. And that brings me to a great thing one of my teachers said too. I was reading a book with him and he goes, you know, I said, what do you think this means, you know? What do you think that passage means? And he goes, Tate, I try to have more questions than answers anymore. Every time I got answers, I got ground I got to defend. And I'm just tired of fighting. I'm 65 years old. I'd rather have the questions. And I look to that more. I look like I don't need answers, but if you need some, man, if I don't know it, I don't need to make up an answer. I can find somebody. I got a great network of people that love that I've been putting in good work for years and that love me and that I can find those answers for you, you know? And that's how my whole, like all these people in this room, I feel like are just like my people that like, they just roll with honesty, looking towards truth and looking to make things better. And how they can make things better, how I can make things better, if I make other people's lives better. I can't really, it's like that thing about like you can't run faster by deadlifting or whatever, right? And if you get a real good deadlift, your running's not gonna be so good. And if you get a real good run, your deadlift is not so good. And I feel like that in those ways. It's like what I pay attention to is gonna grow. And so I try to pay attention to that looking for the truth and those people that nourish me around me, you know? And I guess I just came out I'm trying to tell my story in a short version here. So I'm stuck at fighting, I'm done stick fighting, I'm doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and I'm fighting mixed martial arts. And I'm going all over the world. Every time I go, I'm learning a ton. There's a lot of people that don't go, that I train with. And those guys train and their competition is in the gym, mostly against me, which I always felt a certain way about, which wasn't good. And I felt like here I am with a place to defend, right? I'm one of the best guys in the room, and that's just how it was. And these guys, there's a mark on you. So that's not fun to go to school anymore, right? If it's like that. And then I had to change the way I thought about it. It's not their fault. It all comes back to accountability. What am I doing with that? Am I here to help and to learn, or am I here to win? What am I doing? And there's a time when, I need to win. You know, but in there, that's not the time. That's a different time, you know, and I'm going to rob myself if I mix those lanes up. And so, again, specificity, specific training, specific mindset. I had to get into that early on because I was a defeatist, man. I didn't think anything was going to come of it. So me and one of my current partners, we were together for a long time as training partners, and now we own a coffee company together. And that's next in the story. So then Master P walks into the bar one day, right? You guys know No Limit Records? No? Nah. Okay, thank you. Fuck. Yeah. So he comes in and he says, hey, we need some big white boys for this prison film I'm doing. And so a couple of my dudes call me up and go, yeah, cool. And we go out and we try to do this. And so I get a SAG card, which is the card that is the buy-in if you want to be in the movies, right? And got paid a bunch of money that month, and I was like, I mean, I'd never made any money like that in my life. I I mean, it was like $10,000 I made in 30 days. And I was like, I'd never had clean money like that, ever. Yeah. And so I was stoked, but the dude was like, yeah, you should come back to LA, you should do this, and fucking, I got a guest house, put you up there. We really bonded together. He was a guy named Keith Willard. He was a Navy SEAL BUDS instructor, really great dude. And he doesn't remember that at all. And but he changed my life, right? He changed my life. And I was like, no, man, I'm not gonna go do that because that seems outrageous. I'm just a poor kid from Michigan. I don't think that's gonna work out. I got this one job. I like doing this scrapping thing I'm doing. I think I'll stay there. But thanks. And then, time goes on, whatever. I get knocked out in my last fight, and that was the last time I fought, and which was fucking hard to end on that. But the end has to be the end, man. You can't be too weak to kill something and too weak to let it die, and that's in myself. I got to let that old me go, and I just knew I needed to pivot hard. And I didn't know into what. So what am I now, Kids smile at me at 7-Eleven. That's that kid I seen fight or whatever. And then you're just some fucking dude that looks like this, and they're like, who's that guy who's going to rob the place? So that pivot, it caused me fits, man. And I didn't know how to do it, and I didn't know other guys that had done it because there wasn't a whole bunch of people that had pivoted a lot in my life. My parents had had the same job since they were, young, and that was just how it was in that generation. And then as the whole world starts shifting, I'm still not sure if I'm happy about it or not, but here we are. I just started looking at like, what am I going to become, and how outlandish is it to be in films? So I started doing bodyguard work all the time, and I don't do another film job for a couple years, and then a commercial comes in, little stuff here and there. I never did anything with it. Kept fighting, ended up getting knocked out. I'd said that already. I got a lot of brain damage too, so bear with me. And then at that time, we were just nerds for coffee. Me and Keith Jardine is a partner of mine, and he and I would geek out about it. And then he went to a coffee and chocolate festival, met these Colombian dudes he fell in love with, and he's like, you got to get back here, Tait. You got to just taste. This is amazing, and chocolate and cacao. And he's going off and off. Because after we both quit fighting, we started to get loose with our diets and started to look at nutrition, started to look at different training modalities, started messing with a lot of West Side Barbell and that group. And it just, there's so much training that just made sense that I'm like, would have been cool to know that. Different time. And then after that, and I start seeing that, and I start seeing all these advancements, right? Because you think the wheel's been made. No, it's a new world, man. There's new wheels getting made every day. And then I thought, man, it's this guy, John Lowe. He helped me so much in my life, man. He taught me a lot of things. Taught me how to read, taught me how to go through a process that could get me out of my own way. And he loved me. He took me in his house when nobody else would. He gave me popcorn, and he liked ice cream. He hated popcorn. He kept popcorn in the house for me. Like little kindnesses like that don't seem like anything, but it meant the world to me. And I said, John, I know I owe you, but I got nothing, but I just want you to know that it's not lost on me, And he goes, you don't owe me, man. You owe everybody. And what you're going to do is if you, continue to try to get as well as you can and strive for that and help people coming behind you, maybe you can stay healthy. Maybe you could stay well. And it just rang with me, and he said that a long time ago now, like 24 years ago. And then I didn't see him again. And he was one of these guys, too, that told me, don't put any man on a pedestal because it's just an unsafe position. It's a rude thing to do to me. Like, I can't attenuate that ground, man. I'll fail you, Again, teaching me about self-ownership, about responsibility. Anyways, I try to get a hold of him on LinkedIn. I'm not a LinkedIn guy. Just doesn't come up. But a friend of mine is a LinkedIn guy. And I said, hey, can you find this lady that was married to my friend John? I'd like to see if I can. This is 17 years I hadn't seen him in, And so anyway, I'm working. I'm in movies now. So that's the part of the story we're in. And I'm in this movie called John Wick. And we're in this ballroom in this place downtown New York City, and it was only the second time I'd ever been to New York City in my life, and everything was like crazy beautiful, all this shit. My life's way different than I ever thought it could be. I'm with a bunch of my heroes, a bunch of dudes I really look up to and guys that had, helped me when they didn't need to, and the phone rings. And Pam Lowe's on the phone and she says, hey, she's selling some multi-level marketing stuff or something and talks about that for a little while. And then finally I go, it's the velvet floors, oak banisters, there's the madness everywhere. And I'm sitting on the stoop on the stairs. And I said, is John around? And she goes, no, you missed him. She says it like that, like you missed him, like he's at the store. You missed him, he died last February. And he had real bad liver, and he had Hep C really bad, and then he got a liver given to him, and then he said, give it to somebody younger. I've lived 70 good years, I'm good. And the biggest thing, and I wept. I sat there and I wept on the phone with her, and in this crazy scene. And I said, I just want him to know that I did good. I want him to know that he didn't waste his time, because the motherfucker put time in me. And she goes, he knows, and we talked a little bit more and hung up, and then that became the thing. It just became my thing. I was talking earlier with some friends and talking about this idea, like when I was a kid, I just, I felt a certain way, and I felt like I got to get even with them people. And a dude said, the only people you got to get even with are the people that helped you, Tait. And all them other people just erased. They just go away from me at that point. And I can focus on just doing good work, right? I can focus on good process. Because what's negative process? It gives me nothing. And so anyway, I started looking towards that kind of way of life. And as it continued, I started building this other business, this coffee business that I got with a couple friends of mine. And it was just kind of on a lark, and then we ended up with a business. And then it's like, now did you just create noise in the space, or are you gonna curate this business? And so now I'm in this new education, like pivoting again, like who are you, right? I always like to ask, like, how'd you find out about me? Whenever somebody's like, hey, can I get a picture? Because it's a varied fucking road, man. And so anyway, we started doing this coffee company, and apparently it's a big business, and that there's a lot of stuff that you need to know. And so then here I am, like kind of uneducated in this hyper education again, and trying to take mad discipline to find out everything I can know about this, so that we can take it to market and have a successful brand. And that's what we've been doing. And I guess I say all that just as a reference of like, I am fully aware sitting here that that's not the thing. Like anything that looks good. I started off, I wrote this thing, and I go, somewhere here. I fail a lot. Everything that I looked at in my life, I've been 100% a failure at. There's been nothing that turned out the way that I was like, that's the way it was in my head. Nothing. And then I just endeavor to fail more and better and clean up the last parts of like, why did that fail? Clean that up. And so I look at this failure as this great opportunity now. And that's how it was with my brand. I got a brand that's been alive for 5 years, right? And we take it to market. We go to this thing, Expo West. It's like a natural foods thing where all the buyers from grocery stores and everywhere in the world come, whatever. There's like 200,000 people. It's madness. And we don't know what we're doing, but we're there. We're at the party, right? And that's kind of the thing. It's the same with fighting for me. It's the same with learning a language. It's the same with whatever. How do I start? I throw my hat over the fence, and then I got to go get the fucking hat, right? Because I'll change the way I feel about a good endeavor. Ooh, we should really start that tomorrow, right? And I just throw my hat over, and I go, now I'm obligated, and I got to go. And that's how it's been. And then what happens is the market is nice. The market's not like, the market's what it is. But it's an informative tool that says, you're not fit to be in the space because of this. And then we fix that. And they go, your labeling isn't right to do this. And then we do that. And you stay, the only thing that business has been good at is me staying alive, right? I can stay alive and then I can stay in the conversation. So those are the two big things I think about is like, how do you get in the conversation, first of all? And then what? And like, for me, it's just floating right now. It's like, how do you stay alive? How do you swim, It's easy to say, oh, just accept everything as it comes. Yeah, unless you're drowning, right? Then maybe you paddle a little. I don't know. And so we've been paddling, and we've been learning a ton, and we've been meeting a bunch of great people, and I think that's kind of the purpose of the whole thing. And as far as, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know I don't know what's valuable to you people. I don't know what to say. I've got this idea of my coach, the life's been so rich. I've been coaching. I've raised up these guys, in jiu-jitsu. There's no jiu-jitsu where I was. And then all these guys come in. I got one kid who's been with me since he's 13 years old. Just graduated college 2 years ago. He's been running a business that we set up for him to run for the last 2 years. And now he's looking to move on and go out from under, the weight of me going, hey, and do his own life, which is the appropriate thing. And I've seen 3 guys through that stage that have been real close to me. And it's been nothing short of a privilege and an honor to be able to be that person and kind of to carry on a little bit of what John said about, amass what you have, wear each experience as a new tool, a new blanket, and take that into tomorrow. And it's been useful to these guys. And if nothing else, a guy asked me one time in an interview, he goes, oh, you're a successful guy, this or that. I go, pfft. First of all, not a fan. A, I want to reiterate. And B, like, what's that mean? Successful, And the more I thought about it, I thought about guys like John Lowe, and I thought about this lawyer that helped me out when I was a kid, and just different teachers and coaches that would come up. And I thought, man, if those guys that helped me when I was nothing and helped me when nobody sensible woulda, could know they didn't waste their time. That was the only metric I had for success. That's all I wanted. And then to be able to carry it forward strong and to fucking stay the course, that becomes a thing because it gets wobbly the more you take on with life. And then my life's gotten like reductive and going, okay, what's really important? What do you really want to service? Did you just create noise in the system with this, or is this going to be something that's going to be helpful, useful, and can carry on? And my gym has been like that. I got a CrossFit gym, like strongman gym, jiu-jitsu gym in Santa Fe, New Mexico, that I just transferred to one of my guys, who's also a criminal, but he's done all his time, okay? And he's got a family, and he's been there. Before he left, I had the gym, and we set up programs for him, and then he had to turn himself in on New Year's Eve, and then he did 3.5 years, and then he's doing them on 3 different prison yards, got functional movement on the yard right now because of that guy. And then when he got his family, he says, this is my dream. I really want to own a gym. And I go, cool, man. I don't really have a space for it. So it's on you. And then we did a full transfer just this last year. And that's been a cool thing because my biggest thing that I don't know if I would have felt ashamed about it or what, but it wouldn't have sat right, is just to leave that. And then you got a couple, 300 people that are coming to, I needed it to go on. I needed to find things that I wanted to touch as an adult, as I matured as a man. I wanted to have sustainability, and I wanted to have it be without me having to sustain it. Like I wanted to make a sound vessel, if it were, and so that's been pretty cool, all of that stuff. And how much time we got here? Other questions? Yeah. Yeah, crazy. No Hep C. He said, how does it feel to know that I'm John Lowe for these guys? It's an honor, man. It could make me cry thinking about it. It's something else, It's something else, Okay, I almost forgot about my man. So anyway, about 3 years ago, I meet this 91-year-old guy who I didn't intend to meet. And my ex-girlfriend said, hey, I'm going out of town, and I happen to get a job on a TV show that shoots real regular. They don't shoot funky hours, so I was out like at 8 o'clock every night. And she says, he just got put in this old folks home, and if you could go see him, he's got nobody else, And I go, yeah, whatever. And then I go, maybe you could try to be a human, Tait. And so my truck drives there automatically because sometimes my truck's smarter than me. And I go in and I see him, and I just fall in love with this guy. We start talking. He's a World War II vet, blown up on the shores of Italy. Smuggled hashish through Syria. Don't nobody rat on him. He's done. And he's a real special dude, man. And he allowed me to help him in a way I'd never been able to help anybody else before. And the reason I went back there and I went there every day after that was because these old people, they don't have any advocate, man. And they don't have a voice. And he was just a little deaf. He had his mind, but they disregard him like he's a towel or something. And so seeing that, I just I would only wear tank tops in there, and I would go and I would aggressively say hello to people. Hey, what's going on, man? You okay? Yeah, no, just a friend of Harrison's. Hope everything's good. It'd be like that kind of a hello, and I did it to everybody. And I was just like, these guys are not going to know that this guy don't have anybody, you know? He's got people. And he and I became buddies, you know? And then I go, fuck, I don't know how do you take care of an old dude? And he could walk still. When I first met him, we would go to the gym, and we would do squats. We'd do about 4 squats, and we'd call it good. And then we would do agility drills, and we'd get an empty bottle, and I'd just have him throw a bottle back, and then I'd make him walk with the bottle and shadow me. And then he would go from walking, okay, to being, after that shit, he's like, all right. And he would be present, right? And I could turn the lights on that guy. And what a gift, right, to be able to do that. I mean, just a privilege, man. And then I got real busy about a year and a half later. We hung out all the time, every day. We'd go for rides all the time. Got COPD, couldn't go outside in the wintertime anymore. That laid him up a little bit. Next time I saw him, I was gone on a show for 3 months, and so he doesn't work. Nobody else is working him, whatever. And he can't get up anymore. So he's stuck, right? And I go, well, I'm gonna pick you up, and we'll straighten your back out, right? Because his back is locked so that he's at an angle. And he just comes up, and it's like he's in a chair still while I'm picking. And I was like, all right. So this is how his life is now, right? And he told me one thing. He got a catheter at that time, and he had it through his penis first, which is really uncomfortable, I guess. And they were talking about you're gonna have to live with it there because your bladder doesn't work anymore. It's a 92-year-old bladder, sorry. And so he goes through here and doing all this shit. Like, I mean, I'm cleaning him, I'm cutting his toenails. It's like, it's the whole deal. And then enlisting other people to help. And I go, hey, you ever feel like, because like when I was fighting in my 20s even still, and I would tell guys that were younger than me, they'd go, it's these guys. I would do that if whatever, or when I was younger, I was like, you ever have those conversations, Harrison? Like, when you were younger, you'd have been about some shit, but now you're whatever. And he goes, not until this latest debacle. Like, he just never felt diminished, the dude. He's a little tiny 5'6", 120-pound guy, never felt diminished his whole goddamn life, And then he just passed away about 2 months ago. It was about a month after his birthday. And I kind of wish at that birthday he could have said goodbye to everybody and gone and taken a pill. He ended up having to starve himself to death because that's the way the system is. If you're not 6 months terminal, they can't help you with morphine or whatever. And so he went about starving himself to death, and that's how he went. And I think he was happy to go that way. But being that deep, it makes me not want to be nowhere else. It makes me want to go ahead and be useful. So I think about, like, as it pertains to this, the more muscle you can pack on your body in your life is the best thing you can do. The best thing you can do is get as strong as fuck. The best thing you can do is get as strong and resilient as you can, because the world tests me in 1,000 different ways, right? And if I'm not strong, the other thing is, you can use kindness as a tool, as a weapon, as a way to defer, right? But if you're strong and you know who you are, that kindness and that gentleness, man, that's second to none. That's the sweetest motherfucker in the room, And that's what I see in here too, There's if you got that strength and you know who you are, like, there's no threat in being kind to anybody in the world. And I never felt worse off, for getting even with those that helped me. And I felt plenty worse off when I got even with those that were less than helpful to me. That was stuff I had to get right with later. Anyway, I just want to say something about Harrison. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. I got all weekend.
What is the goal for Tait now? Like, what do you want to be? What do you want to become? You've been through so much. You've experienced so much. You've gone from literally nothing in many ways to run successful businesses, to impact people's lives. what do you want to define yourself as now, or what do you hope to one day define yourself as?
I'd like to be, I guess what I want to do is I want to be a good steward of the things that I've created already, right? So I want to pay attention and create value in my podcast. I think, I vacillated with that. I ran it for about 3 or 4 years or something, and I always think, this is like self-aggrandizing, and it's like whatever, and I feel a certain way about that. And then I'll get emails, or I ran into a brother from South Africa here, and it's just like, stuff reaches people. And it really teaches me that you don't know really, you put good work out there into the world. You don't know where that comes back or how it impacts, A lot of people I talk to, they talk about, well, I can't be a service. I got nothing to give or whatever. And it's like, you can leave kindness with everybody. Even if it's just in a thought, it helps my heart, let alone that I tell you got a nice sweater on or whatever. It's like, and this one teacher of mine, he goes, leave everybody with a gift, Tait. Just be conscious of that. And so I'd like to be more conscious and aware of that. And I'd also like to, I'd take my coffee to fruition. I'd like to see where that goes. And I'm learning a bunch in that space, and that's cool. And yeah, I'd like to be on billboards. Right now, I don't know if you've seen them or not, but it's like I'm the guy in the movies that you for sure don't remember. It's just like one of the guys John Wick kills, right? So I work diligently at that too. Ninny as that sounds. That's what I've been into lately, and trying to grow that muscle. Because it's a whole nother thing. It's like coming here. What do you want to be? This is a great act of contrary action for me because it's difficult, man. I'm honored, it's a privilege, but I'm like, I don't see the worth in it or the value in it. So I'd like to be able to grow a confident voice in that, even or something like that. And this has been a great lesson in that for me, And I appreciate you for having the space, bro. Yeah. 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 This is my ace in the hole back here. I was like, if I find dead space, you're gonna have to yell out.
Hey, just wanted to ask a question because I look at you as someone who I define very much as a savage, right? You've captivated us with your ability to fight, with your ability to be this tough guy, but you're also a very compassionate, deep thinking, kind of emotional man as well. How do you find the ability so well? Because when I watch you relative to other people, you kind of ebb and flow between these two personality types, but it's one. And other ways I see people do a little bit too much of this or a little bit too much of that, but you carry a real balance with that. How do you find that within yourself?
How do I what?
How do you strike that balance within yourself?
Boy, I don't know, man. A dude told me the other day, I was on a podcast, he goes, you really balance your masculine and feminine. And I just thought it was funny, in a land where it can be anything or whatever, I suppose. For me, I just think, kindness never loses, really, right? And also I just, if somebody doesn't want that, that's cool. We can have whatever kind of party you want to have. You know what I mean? I'm available for that. But like we'll start here, and because you know what I mean? Yeah, it's like that. And also because the thing is you just get tired. It's like road raging, I think, for me is like, how many times are you going to get out of the car, Tait? You can't get out of the car as many times as there's dickheads on the road. Like you don't have time. You would do your whole day like that. And so, for me to live in the world, it's like I got to change this to make it amenable to the public in a way. And I feel also that, you look like you or like me, it's like you better smile first, because you don't not look like a threat, right? So, and I guess that was the thing too, is being self-aware like that, and I find with other people, I knew as a bouncer, you're a meathead, you're dumb, you're violent, you're aggressive, like all those things are what you are, if you're a cop, if you're a soldier, like whatever it is, like people have assumptions, right? Okay, it's your job to show them you, and what is that? And that's this wide cast of a person, If you come at me one way, you might only get one lane, but like, there's a whole freeway here we can relax into, Yeah. I don't know if that answers it or not, but something in there. Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.